Guten Tag to you, my friends. Genesis 20 today. Reading from the good old King James here. We are in 20 of Genesis. We're getting past a couple of brutal sections in Genesis, and now we're getting to deal with a little integrity challenge here. I think we've all had this when it comes down to it. It's just better to just tell the straight, honest truth and deal with the consequences. Abraham, in this part of his Christian walk, is still dealing with it. And so, he gets himself into a little bit of a tight spot, and there's a little bit of an uncomfortable situation. Better just get it on the table, be honest, tell it like it is. So, with that, Genesis 20. Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. Now it does appear that Sarah is somewhat in the family line. And way back when, during Abraham's childhood, he had a father. He had a grandfather. In the Bible, they just call people father or brother, which might be way distant. Okay, and so it is totally possible that Sarah is related through his father, grandfather, because he can call it father, and that's just the way it is. They were lived in, like the Mideastern tribes. They travel around in tents, and it's a small community, and they have the potential to marry second cousins and so forth because they're very tight communities, and that's probably the situation here. Or Abraham's just really taken him for a ride. Okay, and anyway, probably out of fear, worried about getting his throat cut, by a scimitar or something, Anyway, he kind of blew a little smoke out his mouth that he probably shouldn't have. He should have said, "She's my wife, hands off," okay, That's what I tell people, that's my wife. I'm gonna be a Christian. I'm gonna do my best to keep peace, but if you mess with my wife, I'm gonna mess with you, and I'm not gonna warn you. I will protect her, and that's the best thing to do. And as a man, that's what we should do. All right, here we go. Get moving on here. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, she is a man's wife." So God spoke dreams to pagan kings. Isn't that odd? Isn't that interesting? Well, it happened before, right? Remember? Egypt, remember? Egyptian king. He had dreams, and they called his men, and they said, "What are these dreams?" And remember, Joseph was in a prison. He had interpreted one of the king's helpers, all right? And later on, that king's helper was restored and said, "I know a man who can interpret dreams." So God does speak to kings of nations through dreams. Now, they need to listen, and this man listened. And Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation?" Said he not unto me, "She is my sister," and even she herself said, "He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this." He had not touched her yet. God would not allow that. Abraham and Sarah are very special. An entire nation comes through them. Or more than one nation, but very important nation, the nation of Israel. But other nations did trickle out through their bloodline. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. See, God kept him from sinning against Sarah and Abraham and God. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. So you see, God doesn't mess around. And I'm gonna be the advocate for Abraham here. If you're in a totally, foreign environment, foreign country, Abraham is like, it's like being surrounded by a bunch of people from Scandinavia that are 6'7", and 395 pounds, and they all got Viking clubs in their hands, and they say, "Is she your wife, or is she your sister?" As if she's your wife, we're going to take her and go off on a ship. Similar to that, that's a little happy puppet show. But, being his advocate is like, the fear was probably overwhelming to him. And, hey, he was weak and said, she's my sister, take her, But anyway, God intervened and straightened the situation out here. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. That was adultery was a very, very serious offense. Not like in the United States here. It's like, oh, she was committing adultery and she's committing adultery, and it's like, oh man. When I walked down the aisle of my wife, I said, I will be faithful until the death, because that is my desire, to take care of you until I die, until one of us dies. And that's my goal, okay? And back then, adultery was a very serious crime. It was a capital punishment crime. It was it brought kingdoms to war, adultery, and they cherished it very highly. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants, told all these things in their ears, and they were sore afraid, rightly so. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not be done. Very true. It shouldn't have been done. Shame on Abraham. But he did it. Okay. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. Because, the Bible does seem to indicate that Sarah was very, very beautiful, even at an old age. She was an old lady, but she was very beautiful as an old lady. Indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So you see, back in those days, they called grandpa, so forth, pops. Okay, they didn't say great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. And Sarah was secular, similar age with him, and so, whether she was related through father's Abraham, through one of her brothers, and the marriage line then came down through that, and so forth and so on. And like that, okay. Anyway, so, and that's why he could say his sister, because technically, in reality, I guess we could all kind of say that. I could say that, well, she's my sister, man. Because reality, we all go back, to Noah and the ark, right? And that's the way it is, And but that would be really stretching the truth. Okay. And so kind of Abraham kind of did that here. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou shalt show me unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored Sarah unto him to be his wife. They had servants, men and women servants in those days. That's just the way it is, They weren't hooked up with the government societies of, paying people to stay home all day. This, like, if you were not able to work, you had to go into slavery. You were sold or sold yourself, or you submitted yourself to be a bond slave of somebody, and that's just the way it was. That's how you survived, okay? And that is the way it was. Okay, we are more technically advanced now, and we do things differently. I don't want to say better or worse. We just do things differently, okay? And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. And said unto Sarah, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all the other. Thus she was reproved. So by him paying off that little dowry, he was saying to the rest of the world, I didn't touch her. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. One of the reasons the kings had maidservants, they brought them in as their concubines and harem. They had the rights, conjugal rights of the wife, but they didn't have the honor or the genealogical blessings and inheritance that the wife, the primary wife, had. Once again, that's just the way they did it. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. So he closed up their wombs. Obviously, they were there for some time, and they were used to having babies, on regular intervals, and that's why they had many wives, to have many children. And so God sore vexed them, but they were wise. They pulled back and said, Whoa, we're doing something wrong, Lord. We want to change. And that's always the best thing to say. So with that, God bless you folks from the Bears Gym, Genesis 20. Hope you had a good time, because I sure did. So God bless you. See you next time.